You walk into life thinking you have time, that you'll figure it out, that somehow the world will ease you into it, gently, gradually, with a little guidance and maybe a few signs along the way. But then it happens. Life doesn't tap you on the shoulder. It hits you in the face. No warning, no buildup, just a hard, cold slap of truth. And in that moment, you realize it's not here to be fair. It's not here to make you comfortable. It's here to test you. Nobody prepares you for how quickly things fall apart. The plans you made, the people you trusted, the image you built, it can all come crashing down in a blink. And suddenly you're not standing on solid ground anymore. You're on your knees, confused, angry, maybe even broken. You start to wonder if you were ever ready for this in the first place. And the truth is, you weren't, because no one ever is. That first blow from life, the one that knocks the breath out of your chest, changes something in you. It strips you of every illusion you once held. It shows you that strength isn't something you inherit. It's something you're forced to create when everything else is taken from you. You don't learn resilience when things go right. You learn it when the world backs you into a corner and dares you to get back up without giving you a reason. And you will have moments, dark ones, where you sit in the aftermath of pain and think, maybe this is it. Maybe you weren't built for this. Maybe the pressure is too much, the weight too heavy. But here's the truth you need to hear. This isn't your breaking, it's your awakening. That punch you took, that silence you sat in, that pain that wouldn't leave, it wasn't punishment, it was clarity. It was life showing you who you really are when everything you leaned on was stripped away. And it's in that space, alone, angry, unsure, that you begin to forge something stronger than luck, stronger than talent, will. And once that will takes hold, something changes. You don't look at the pain the same way anymore. You don't ask why it happened. You ask what it's building in you. That's the shift. That's the real start. Not when you were comfortable, not when things made sense, but right here in the wreckage, when everything is quiet and you decide to rise anyway, because the world isn't going to stop hitting. But now, you're not standing there waiting for comfort. You're bracing for the storm and stepping into it willingly. You stepped into the storm, not because you wanted to suffer, but because something inside you finally stopped running from the fire. And now it's here, pain. Not the kind that scratches the surface, but the kind that lingers, that crawls into your chest and settles like it belongs there. It shows up in silence, in rejection, in failure. It doesn't ask permission, it just moves in. But the pain that's breaking you isn't here to end you, it's here to shape you. This is the part where most people tap out, not because they're weak, but because they were never taught what pain really is. They see it as a stop sign, a warning that they've gone too far. But you're starting to see something else. You're starting to feel the edge where pain becomes power. Not immediately, not cleanly, but moment by moment, you begin to realize that this isn't punishment, it's the process. The discomfort you feel is not chaos, it's construction. Every ache, every doubt, every failure, it's all part of the work. Because nothing worth becoming is built in comfort. Growth doesn't come wrapped in ease. It comes wrapped in frustration, confusion, in long stretches where nothing makes sense, yet you keep showing up anyway. You don't rise by escaping the hurt. You rise by leaning into it. You rise by understanding that pain is not your enemy, it's your instructor. It's not just there to test your patience. It's there to teach you discipline, to stretch your threshold, to strip away the layers that never belonged to you in the first place. You want to get better? Then sit with the pain. Not for a second, not for a day. Long enough to understand what it's trying to say. Long enough for it to stop scaring you. Long enough to see what's underneath it. Because when you stop flinching from it, when you stop resenting it, something incredible happens. It begins to shape you. It sharpens your thinking. It rewires your focus. It forces you to choose, break down or break through. This is the hard truth no one tells you. Your pain has a job, and if you quit every time it shows up, you never let it finish what it started. It's not there to hold you back. It's there to expose the gaps in your strength so you can fill them. It's there to reveal the work you still need to do. That's what makes it a gift, not because it feels good, but because it makes you good. And that mindset, choosing to stay, choosing to learn, is what separates the ones who almost made it from the ones who do. Because once you accept the pain, you stop resisting the process. You start to look deeper. You start to notice the little shifts, the inches that others miss, the details that change everything. Because growth isn't a leap, it's a crawl. And most people quit before they realize how close they were. But you won't. Not now. You've come too far to turn away from the lesson. You sat in the fire long enough to know this isn't about quick fixes or overnight change. This is about discipline, about doing the work even when you're tired, even when it hurts, especially when no one's watching. And when the pain doesn't scare you anymore, when you stop running from the burn and start working through it, everything shifts. Because now you're not just surviving the storm, you're mastering it. You're learning to fight for every inch. And those inches, they're where everything starts to change. You felt the fire. You stayed through the pain. And now you start to see what most never will. Progress doesn't come in waves. It doesn't roar in like a victory parade. It creeps in quietly, in moments so small you could miss them if you're not paying attention. That's where it lives, in the inches, in the breath between giving up and taking one more step, in the flicker of a choice no one sees, but that changes everything. Because this is the reality. The space between winning and losing is razor thin, half a second, half a step, half a heartbeat. It's not dramatic, it's not loud, it's microscopic, but it matters. It always matters. This is where you separate yourself, not by shouting louder, not by doing more than everyone else in bursts, but by locking in on the margins, by noticing the details that others call insignificant. You begin to track your focus like a predator. Every second counts, every repetition, every decision, every inch becomes sacred. Because you know now this isn't about talent, it's about attention. Anyone can work when they feel strong. Anyone can chase their goals when everything is going right. But you're learning to grind in silence. You're learning to sharpen your edge in the tiny invisible moments when no one is watching. And that's where greatness is built, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, where no one claps for you, where no one cares if you show up, where the only validation comes from the mirror. That's the difference, that's the inch, and most won't chase it. Most will wait for motivation to strike. Most will waste the moment hoping for momentum, but you've already realized the inch doesn't wait for you. You chase it, you fight for it, because 1 inch is all it takes to win a race. 1 inch is the space between doubt and dominance, between falling apart and pulling through. This is the battlefield few talk about, not the grand moments, but the daily ones, when you don't want to wake up, when no one is watching, when nothing feels urgent, but everything is still at stake. The gap between where you are and where you could be isn't a mile, it's a decision repeated 1,000 times in the smallest spaces. And it's hard to keep going when the results are invisible, hard to care when no one claps, but you care. You've learned to trust the invisible. You've learned to believe in effort without applause, because now you know the inches compound. Every little thing adds up, every ignored distraction, every extra rep, every minute spent sharpening the parts no one talks about. They're bricks, and brick by brick, you're building something unshakable. It's not about chasing perfection. It's about chasing presence, locking in so deeply on what you're doing that the outside world fades. You're not just going through the motions anymore. You're owning every motion. You're not waiting for life to reward you. You're building the reward moment by moment, inch by inch. And as that precision grows, so does your clarity. You're no longer overwhelmed by how far you have to go. You're focused on the inch right in front of you. And when you do that long enough, with enough intensity, something happens. You start protecting the thing you're building, not just with discipline, but with fire. Because now that dream isn't a concept anymore. It's taking form. It's becoming real. And you'll fight for it in every tiny moment, in every overlooked corner. Because the ones who chase the inches, they're the ones who end up holding the whole thing. You didn't stumble onto this path. You carved it, Inch by inch, you built something that most people only talk about, a real living vision. It's not just an idea anymore. It's not a wish or a fantasy. It's a seed you've watered with time, pain, and grit. And now that it's real, now that it's started to grow, the fight changes. Because now you're not just building, you're protecting. Your dream is yours. No one will feel it the way you do. No one will believe in it like you will. And the moment you expect them to, you lose control. Because the world isn't built to nurture dreams. It's built to question them, test them, bend them until they snap. And if you're not ready to defend it, someone else will gladly tear it down. You'll hear voices, some loud, some quiet. They'll tell you it's not worth it, that it's too hard, that you're not enough. And if that doesn't work, they'll laugh. Not because they know you can't do it, but because deep down, they know they never tried. People will always attack what reminds them of their own hesitation. Don't let their doubt become your truth. Guard your vision like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. That dream is the clearest version of who you're becoming. And the moment you stop fighting for it, the old version of you starts crawling back. The one who stayed quiet. The one who waited for permission, the one who thought life would just hand over success when it felt right. You don't need anyone to understand it. You don't need a cheering section. You need conviction. You need to wake up every day and remind yourself exactly why you started. Because there will be days when the path looks blurry, when nothing feels like it's working, when it feels like you're walking alone. But that's part of it. That's the tax on greatness. Solitude, resistance, silence. And yet, through all of that, the dream stays alive because you refuse to let it die. You refuse to let the pressure dissolve it or let the world shape it into something safer, smaller, easier to digest. You hold the line. You guard it like something sacred because it is. And guarding it doesn't mean standing still. It means chasing it harder than ever, relentlessly, without apology. While others hesitate, you move. While others complain, you adjust. While others sleep on their goals, you're already building. You're already bleeding for something they can't even see yet. This is where the weak let go. But you're not here to let go. You're here to lock in, to hold your vision so tight that nothing slips through the cracks. Because this isn't just about chasing a goal. It's about proving to yourself that you're worth the pursuit. And as that pursuit deepens, something else begins to fade. The fear that once wrapped around your dream like chains. It starts to loosen, it starts to crack, because the more you chase what's yours, the less power fear has over you. And when the fear begins to fall apart, you're ready to face what's behind it. Fear used to be your shadow. It followed you everywhere, whispering in your ear just loud enough to make you second-guess the dream you were fighting for. It told you not to reach too high, not to risk too much. It didn't scream. It just lingered, subtle and quiet, like background noise you learned to live with. But now you've walked straight into it. You've looked it in the face and kept moving. And what once towered over you suddenly looks small, because fear isn't a wall, it's a curtain. And once you pull it back, you see the truth. It was never real. It had no structure, no shape, no teeth. It was made of doubts you inherited, stories you were told, and moments that never even happened. But the damage was real. The hesitation was real. Fear didn't stop you with force. It stopped you with questions. Questions like, what if I'm not ready? What if I fail? What if I'm not enough? But you've already answered those questions with action. Every time you move forward anyway, you weakened fear's grip. Every time you showed up when it hurt, when you were tired, when you didn't believe in yourself, you proved that fear had no say. Because the truth is, fear only controls what you don't confront. And you've confronted it again and again, quietly, violently, without needing anyone's permission. And now something brighter is taking its place. Not because fear disappeared, but because you finally stopped feeding it. What's growing in its absence is clarity, a kind of strength that doesn't need to scream to feel real. You see now that the real danger was never falling short. It was never starting at all. The risk wasn't reaching too high. The risk was living beneath your potential, just to avoid the feeling of failure. So many people live there, under that ceiling. They shrink to fit the expectations around them. They pretend not to want more, so they won't be disappointed. But you stepped out of that cage. You stopped asking the world for permission to be powerful. And when you did, something broke open, not just around you, but inside you. This isn't about arrogance. This isn't about pretending you have all the answers. This is about finally accepting that your light, the thing you kept dim for so long, isn't a threat. It's a responsibility. Because when you step into that light, when you let yourself grow into the version of you that doesn't flinch, you don't just rise, you give others a reason to believe they can too. But that shift requires a choice, a hard one, because power isn't given, it's claimed. And that means letting go of the excuses. It means owning the discomfort of being seen. It means admitting you're not who you used to be, and not everyone will like that. Some people will fall away. Some will try to pull you back. But if you keep choosing fear just to keep the peace, you never know what you were capable of. This is the line. On one side is everything you've already survived. On the other is everything you still could become. And what separates the two isn't talent or luck or timing, it's decision. To step out, to stop hiding, to say, this is who I am now. Because once you step into your own light, there's no going back. And that light, it demands something more. It demands alignment. It demands intention. It demands a decision that can't be reversed. And that decision, that's where your path sharpens. You've seen what's possible. You felt the shift. You've cracked through the fear and let the light in. But now it asks something from you. Not words, not promises, a decision. The kind that doesn't fade when things get hard. The kind that holds firm when nothing around you does. The kind that rewrites who you are and how you move. This is where most people hesitate. They like the idea of change, but not the cost. They want transformation without sacrifice. They want strength without letting go of the things keeping them weak. But it doesn't work that way. You don't step into your future with one foot still dragging your past behind you. There's a line, and once you cross it, the excuses have to die. This is the crucible, the fire that burns away every lie you've told yourself about what you can't do, about why it's okay to settle, about who you think you are. And the truth is, this fire doesn't choose you, you choose it. You step into it willingly. You stand inside the discomfort. You look around and realize this is exactly where your next level is built. Because the power you felt in that light is only real if you commit to it. Not just when it's easy, especially when it's not. Because life will test that choice the second you make it. It will throw doubt at your feet. It will shake the ground you walk on. It will whisper, go back. And in that moment, the only thing that will keep you moving is the decision you made before it got hard. That's why this moment matters. Not because everything changes overnight, but because you do. You decide that who you were is no longer running the show. That the version of you who avoided risk, who kept waiting for the right time, who needed everything to be perfect, that version is done, buried, gone. And in its place, a new voice takes over. Not louder, just clearer, more focused, more ruthless about what matters. You start filtering your actions through that one decision. Does this move me forward? Does this honor who I said I'd be? If not, it's gone. No more negotiating with your lesser self. No more asking the world what it thinks. You've already made the call, and now you walk like it. And it's in that walk, steady, grounded, unwavering, that your life begins to align. Not just your habits, but your energy, your circle, your goals. Everything starts reshaping around that choice. You begin to notice the noise doesn't pull you like it used to. The distractions lose their grip. The pain still hits, but it doesn't move you because you're anchored now. You're locked in. That kind of clarity changes how you suffer. It changes how you grind. You're not guessing anymore. You're not hoping. You're building with full intent. Every loss is repurposed. Every setback becomes proof. You stopped reacting. You started leading from within. And now, when life pushes back, you don't stall. You don't retreat. You absorb the hit and keep moving. Because your decision wasn't based on comfort. It was born in the storm. It was forged in the pressure. And pressure is what you've learned to use. But this isn't the end of the fire. It's just the beginning. Because the choice is made, and now it's time to test it. You made the choice, but life doesn't reward you for deciding. It challenges you to prove it. Because once you draw the line, once you say, I'm done backing down, life doesn't roll out a red carpet. Every hit is feedback. Every blow is a question. Do you still mean it? And with every shot you take and keep standing through, the answer becomes louder. You don't prove your strength when everything goes your way. You prove it when nothing does, and you show up anyway. This is the part no one can do for you. This is the part that doesn't look good on social media. The grind when it hurts. The effort when it's thankless. The moments when you feel like you're doing everything right and still getting knocked to the floor. It's not personal, it's the process. You rise not because you're invincible, but because you refuse to stay down. You stop looking for fairness. You stop waiting for things to make sense. You've accepted the cost, and now you're willing to pay it every day if you have to. That kind of resolve, it can't be faked. You either have it or you don't. And if you don't, you earn it by refusing to quit. Every time you get up, you build another layer. Every time you move forward after falling, you strip away another excuse. You stop asking for the pain to end and start asking what it's trying to build. You don't run from adversity anymore. You use it. You let it sharpen you. You let it strip away your softness and leave only what's real. Because the hits won't stop. They'll keep coming. Some will blindside you. Some will cut deep. But none of them can stop you unless you stop yourself. That's what most people never learn. They think life knocked them out, but it didn't. It gave them a moment. A moment to decide who they were going to be when it hurt. A moment to either collapse or rise. And the ones who rise, they're not special. They're not lucky. They just didn't let the pain rewrite their story. You've earned that understanding. You felt what it's like to take hit after hit and still keep walking. And now you wear your scars like armor, not shame. Every bruise, every failure, every misstep, it's all part of the build. You're not fragile anymore, you're forged. And here's the shift. The world starts to feel smaller, not because it's easier, but because you're bigger, stronger, calmer. You start to move through chaos with focus. You stop reacting to everything. You don't flinch at the small things. You've taken bigger hits than this, and you're still here. The pain no longer defines you, it refines you. And every time it tries to break you, it just reminds you of what you've already overcome. You're not here to survive. You're here to grow, to evolve, to rise higher each time you're knocked down. And now the idea of limits starts to dissolve, not because life gets easier, but because you stop believing in the walls that used to trap you. Because what once looked like a barrier now looks like a choice. You've walked through fire. You've taken the hits, made the choice, stayed in the pain, chased the inches, and guarded a vision no one else could see. And now you stand on the edge of something most people never reach. Not because it's far, but because it's hidden. And the only thing separating you from that next level is a lie. The lie is this: you can't. That's all it ever was. Just up as doubt, just up as fear, passed down from people who never had the courage to try. Limits were never real. They were inherited, taught, modeled, whispered into your mind by a world that needs you to play small, to stay manageable, to avoid shaking things up. But you shook it. You broke the script. And now you can finally see what was always true. Every boundary that ever held you back was paper thin. Every wall was an idea. Every ceiling was self-imposed. The moment you stopped believing in those limits, they stopped being real. And suddenly, the path you thought was closed, it's wide open. Not because it changed, but because you did. You were never too broken. You were never too late. You were never too far gone. Those were just the stories fear told you to keep you in place. But the pain you went through, it burned all that noise to the ground. And in the ashes, something cleaner stands. Truth. The truth is, you've always had the power to rewrite everything, to bend reality around your will, to rebuild your life, not through fantasy, but through raw, relentless execution. You're not here to be a version of someone else. You're here to become everything you were afraid to believe was possible. And now that you've tasted what that feels like, you can't go back. You won't shrink again. You won't ask for less. You've earned the right to expand, to climb, to stretch into every ounce of potential that's still buried inside you. Not because it's easy, not because anyone said you could, but because you decided it matters. The people around you won't always understand this shift. They'll still be living inside their limits, still speaking the language of maybe and someday. That's not your rhythm anymore. You don't move in hesitation. You move in certainty. You move in decisions already made. And here's the final piece. There's no destination, no finish line, no moment where you finally arrive and everything stays perfect. But that's not a problem. That's freedom. Because now you know how to keep moving. You know how to rebuild, how to rise, how to keep pushing forward when everything around you says stop. That's what makes you powerful. Not your perfection, but your process. Not your image, but your integrity. You're not trying to prove anything anymore. You're just living the proof. And from this place, from this truth, there are no limits left. There is just you and the road ahead, wide, open, waiting. So keep walking, keep building, keep rising. You don't need permission. You don't need validation. You are the proof that the impossible isn't a wall.